Chapter 6. Temper. I knew Bella was going to be angry. I knew there was nothing I could say or do that would make her understand why I felt the need to take the precautions I was. I knew it, but that didn't mean I wasn't going to try everything in my power to make it up to her. That was why I was currently tucking bedding into an elaborately decorated bed, hoping she would be comfortable during her nights in my room, and that even in her anger she might dream of me while I was away. It was Thursday afternoon, and everything was set. All the things Bella would need were here, and Alice was officially on duty, ready to entertain and distract Bella as only she could. I had been instructed to keep my cell phone turned off until I was already on my way home. Alice was persistent in her assurance that nothing would happen, and didn't want me wasting another hunting trip worrying about what was going on at home. I obeyed diligently at first, but of course my nerves eventually got the better of me. When my family and I reached the edge of the California Reserve, I turned my phone back on and saw I had 2 new messages. With a deep breath and a reproachful glare from Jasper and Emmett, I ducked away to find out whether yet another weekend would have to be cut short.
"You are in trouble,"
Bella's voice spat from the recording.
"Enormous trouble. Angry grizzly bears are going to look tame next to what is waiting for you at home."
A wide grin spread across my face. I hated that she was mad at me, but at least she was safe. There was also the fact that Bella was really adorable when she was trying to sound threatening. Next was the message from Alice that also made me smile.
"She is fine, Edward. Don't you trust your little sister? Now put your phone away and go hunt, or I'll call Jazz and have him throw it in the lake."
As I was tucking the phone, still turned on, back into my pocket, I heard Jasper's voice from behind me. "She's not kidding," he said with a smirk. "Fine," I sighed, turning it off reluctantly. I was about to protest, but fortunately, at that moment, I caught the scent of a pair of mountain lions. I took off running, Jasper right behind me, and for a short time, the world and all my worries disappeared. A few hours later, when my thirst was satisfied, reality started to come back to me. I worried about Bella, though I knew if I made any attempt to check my phone, it would be out of my hand and at the bottom of the lake in seconds. Trying to distract myself from what was presently going on, I started thinking once again about Bella's refusal of my proposal, and what it would mean for our future if I were to ask her again properly, only to have her deny me a second time. I knew we were from 2 completely different times. I understood that she was young and scared. Logically, I could tell myself it made sense for her to be unready for such a huge, life-changing decision. The problem, however, was that she was so ready to throw away her humanity and bind herself to this existence forever. That, compared to marriage, was a far greater commitment. It was making me start to doubt. Was it possible that her desire to join our family was less about me and more about her glorified idea of immortality? She had always shown an unnatural fascination with our way of life. Maybe I had been flattering myself, assuming I was the only reason. Hadn't humans always searched for eternal youth and a way to live forever? I don't know how long I had been frozen, staring off into nothing, but eventually Carlisle approached me and asked if there was anything I wanted to talk about. Jasper and Emmett had taken off after a family of grizzlies, and it was the first time on the trip we had been alone. Though most of the time Carlisle spoke to me like an equal, a friend, a brother, there were times his voice took a distinctly fatherly tone. In those times in particular, his love and concern for me were obvious, and I found myself speaking to him exactly as I imagine a son would speak to a father. "I'm not sure where to begin," I said dismally. "You looked like you were somewhere very far away. At first I assumed you were simply worrying about Bella, but then it started to look like something more. You know you can tell me anything, and I'll help you in any way I can." I hadn't intended to discuss it, but the words were out before I knew I was speaking. "I asked Bella to marry me," I said softly, unsure what his reaction would be. Really, though, I shouldn't have been surprised. "I know. Alice mentioned it." "Of course she did," I said, feeling slightly embarrassed that more people knew about my ridiculous, spontaneous proposal. Though he didn't say a word, I suddenly felt the need to defend myself. "That wasn't how it was supposed to happen. I'm planning on asking her again, properly this time." "I know, and I'm sure it will be perfect. I also have no doubt that your love and devotion to Bella were apparent in your first attempt, even though the circumstances were not what you'd intended. I'm actually wondering right now if you're concerned over the wrong thing." "What do you mean?" "What I mean is, it seems you're in a bit of a paradox. You're fighting so hard to keep Bella human, mortal, yet you expect her to pledge herself to you forever. You're offering Bella eternity while simultaneously trying to keep her from it. Surely you can understand her hesitation." "But I was agreeing with her condition. I was doing the unthinkable and offering to change her myself." "You weren't happy about it." "Of course I wasn't. I could never take her life from her gladly, willingly. And she knew that. You just said the proposal wasn't what you'd intended. If she had accepted under those circumstances, she knows you would have spent the duration of your engagement buying yourself more time. She would have seen how miserable it was making you, and known she was causing your unhappiness. She deserves more than that, doesn't she?" There was something off about his voice, and I eyed him curiously. "Has Alice seen that?" I hedged, and he glanced toward the ground. "Does Alice see her saying yes, and then worrying about me in my end of the bargain?" He looked back up at me with new severity in his eyes. "Just promise me that when the time comes, you'll remember that she's making sacrifices for you too. Nothing about the situation you two find yourselves in should be taken lightly. Make sure you both know what you truly want, and what you're willing to give up. There's no sense in making each other miserable, agreeing to things you're not okay with." I was about to ask for a slightly less cryptic explanation, but stopped when I heard Emmett's booming voice through the clearing. "Are you guys still talking?" he called. Jasper came up behind him laughing, and I realized their side trip had a secondary purpose. "Come on, more feast, less chatter," he said, as Carlisle threw one more meaningful glance in my direction. Why did it suddenly feel like everyone else knew more than me? We stayed out hunting all night, and well into the next day. When the sun started to set, we decided to head home, and as soon as we were running, my hand instinctively reached for my phone. I looked over at Jasper, who rolled his eyes. "Yes, you can check it now. Seriously, though, you have got to learn to relax." I breathed a sigh of relief when I saw there was no new messages. I started to dial Alice's number to let her know we were on our way, when it started ringing.
"Don't be upset,"
Alice said, before I'd even gotten out my hello. Without thinking, I sped up my pace. "What happened?" I asked anxiously.
"Bella's completely fine."
"Yes, she is," I interrupted, my nerves making me more irritable than I probably should have been. "You've been with her the whole time as promised, right?"
"Mostly,"
she said guiltily. Then her own irritation became apparent.
"I swear that girl is pushing my level of patience to the breaking point. You thought you were close to crossing the line."
"She went back to the push again? How?"
"Well, I guess I can't place all the blame on Bella. That mongrel showed up at school on a motorcycle and caught her off guard. I'd like to think she wouldn't have gone if she had taken the time to think about how much it would upset both of us. But I think we both know that that's probably not the case."
"Where is she now?" I growled.
"Relax. She's up in your room."
Strangely, it sounded like she was smiling. "Alice?"
"She wouldn't talk to me about it, but when she got back, she was looking less than thrilled about her little visit. I don't know what he did or said to her, but something tells me she won't be running off again any time soon." As I let that sink in, my mood grew perceptibly lighter. Maybe there wasn't anything I could say to convince Bella to stay away from the wolves, but with their volatile nature and short tempers, I should have known it was only a matter of time before Jacob sabotaged himself. I was almost afraid to think about what could have happened, but I convinced myself that since Bella was safe, it really didn't matter. I would simply hope that whatever it was had made enough of an impact on her, that I would no longer have to bribe Alice with trinkets while I was away. "We'll be home soon," I told Alice, now smiling like I'm sure she was. "She'll be waiting,"
she said simply, and the phone clicked to silence. My pace grew impossibly faster as I thought of Bella, lying in bed, in my room.